upon you. Sing for joy, oh Africa. The Lord your God has risen upon you.
Hello. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining me today on Let's Talk Agile.
Yes.
And the goal is to bridge the digital skill gap for Africans and make sure that women know that it's not so difficult to come into the IT space, as although they think in their brains that it's very hard and very technical, that it has nothing to do with any of that. Thank you so much. So I will start first by asking you to introduce yourself, because you can introduce yourself better than I do. If I read it, it's going to be a script. Or if you say to people, it's much more powerful. So thank you. I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Well, hello, Mercy, and thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation with you today. And it's really an honor to obviously share my journey and my story. So I basically have been somewhat new to Agile, but in a sense, I would say it's not, and I'll go further into that when we discuss some of your questions. But I started out as a marketer about over 25 years ago across different companies and different industries as well. And so through the process of my leadership, I've decided to shift into project management. And that's where I've been now, probably about a year and a half. And so it's a new journey for me, but it's one that I'm very excited about.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that brief intro. You can't be as new as I am, because mine, Agile found me. I think I just conclude that I've been an Agilist all of my life, just because of what Agile represents, serving people and dedicating your life. So the first thing, although you touched a little bit, how did you come into the Agile world?
Yes. So I actually was working at the time at SiriusXM, so satellite radio. Many people have heard of the company or the service. And actually, that was the first taste of my exposure to it through some training there. But we worked in a somewhat of an Agile sort of setup. And I started my project management experience had spanned well before that, but this started to give me a taste of switching away from more of the waterfall approach to project management. And so once I got to see how it's possible to work differently, it really opened my eyes to the world of Agile. And so it might have been a little bit late compared to others that were already in the space, but for me, it was an eye-opener. And it sparked an interest where I said, I'm already a leader, right? I'm already one that tends to focus on the needs of my team. So let me delve into this a little bit more. And once I separated from SiriusXM, I really said, okay, let me sort of open my mindset. I had been in marketing for quite a while and wanted to see, well, what's possible for me to do next? And this area, like you mentioned, Agile found you. I'd say, in the same way, Agile found me. And I really felt very deeply connected to it. And actually, I have an undergraduate degree in computer science. So I'm a little techie already, but hadn't been in the field for, since I graduated or several years after. And so now I was really tempted to dip my feet back into the waters, or at least understand it in a better sense. And so once I made that decision, decided to pursue education, get certified, and then really start exploring it.
Thank you so much. That's quite fascinating that Agile found you. I've never heard that I just became an Agilist. For some reason, work transitions people into Agile as a result of training and ongoing learning that actually occurs. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've experienced since being an Agilist.
Yeah. I'd say it also goes back to, again, some of my work in marketing, in the marketing realm. Because it's always team-based. A lot of the work that we do in marketing is very team-based, as it is in IT. And I always found I had great experiences where I saw how things worked well, and then I also saw where things didn't go so well. And so that if you could say also sort of planted my roots in project management, just observing, those things that where teams really succeeded, what were some of those elements, and where I saw that things failed, what were some of those challenges. And so that again sort of planted the seeds for me. But then once I started to understand that Agile is really about practices and the mindset and the frameworks, that's where I really started to see like, okay, this is something that helps teams to get beyond some of their challenges and gets them out of their own way, or sort of the pitfalls of the past. And some of the challenges that I still face as I'm working with teams today is that there's a resistance to change, right? So we as humans get very complacent and settled in the ways that we've done things in the past, and we're resistant to trying something new. But what I do find that if you really probe and you try to dig with some of those individuals that are resistant to change, if you get them to understand some of the benefits of continually improving, then they begin to see the opportunities. And particularly this way of being agile can actually help them make that change.
Thank you so much. One of the things that I just finished, I'm currently ongoing. I have an ongoing training going on for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And the goal for me is not so much about training people, because it's not just enough about getting certification, because people get very good at applying for certification, do 2 days, and they call themselves, I am a Scrum Master, like a superhero. Right. But it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practicing. So what would you say? There are some organizations, because they do some of the ceremonies of Scrum, they call themselves an Agile organization. What can you speak to doing Agile and being Agile?
Yeah. Yeah, I really, I like using analogies, and I'll use the analogy of a marriage, right? So a marriage you could be in a marriage, right? You can have the paperwork, you can have all the formalities of being in a marriage, but the difference of really being in it or doing it when you're actually like committed, just mentally, your all of your energy is about understanding the other person, their needs, and as well as making sure that you're clear on what you need. And it's that becomes some of that parallels to a team and a Scrum Master. Scrum Master needs to understand the needs of their team, and how they need to sort of evolve. And you can certainly go out and get your certification. You can have your consulting opportunities, but it's not until you understand that it's a mindset perspective, and really getting deeper beyond just the ceremonies and the artifacts. You really have to understand what's going on and what are some of the barriers. So there are a lot of impediments that are the soft stuff that people don't realize, and that's what's getting in their way. And that's one of the things I'm happy about my journey and sort of shifting in toward Agile, is that I lived through a lot of environments where there were the soft stuff challenges, the political challenges, things that got in the way. And so having had that experience to understand and how to navigate those waters is really helping me now as someone that's serving as a Scrum Master, serving as a coach. I can actually see and recognize that and help others recognize that themselves.
Thank you so much. Indeed. Thank you so much. The benefit of working from home. My child is there screaming our lungs out. I don't know what to do.
Listen, this is us all being agile, right? Right? The pandemic is serving up how to be agile, because there's things that are going to keep coming at us while we're trying to do our work, right? But we got to figure it out.
Exactly. Currently, you just got a very great job, which I'm so excited about.
Yes, thank
you. People, you work with the NBA.
Yes.
That's the cream de la cream de la cream of the industry, and you're bringing Agile into that organization. Can you just tell us, because I know a lot of people think some of these things are far-reaching. It's not for me. I am not qualified. And I think a lot of people, I personally suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't know if you do, because as good as we are, we still doubt ourselves that we are not good enough. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'd like you to speak with regards to job opportunity and the career path, because how easy was it for you transitioning from what you were doing, although you're already a tech person, you have a tech background? How easy was it for you to just transition fully into full-blown Agile?
So, well, first of all, the MBA role is brand spanking new. I haven't even put it on my profile yet. I've been actually quite busy, so that's been a barrier there. But first, I'd say there are tons of opportunity in the sense of where an organization may or may not have, I even realize that they need or should have Agile in their organization. So that's first, right? So you think of any company, right, they have teams. They naturally have teams, whether they are IT-based teams, whether they're marketing teams, whether they're HR or legal teams. These are all areas of business that can benefit from using Agile practices and having an Agile perspective of their work. So from that angle, there are tons of opportunity. And actually, I'm in the midst of reading a book from J.J. Sutherland, where he talks about how Scrum teams in hospitals have been able to identify like critical benefits to using Scrum practices on the surgery teams, like doctors and nurses getting together to use Scrum to figure out how to be better in the surgery rooms. And he speaks about how they identify significant improvements that allowed them to cut their time and be better doctors and nurses and be able to serve their clients, AKA their patients. And so, when I look at that from that perspective, there's opportunity everywhere. That anywhere that there's a team, there's an opportunity to use Agile to actually make or impact improvements. And so as I've made my transition into the MBA, it's really about an organization that has been around, for years and doing amazing things as entertainment, but realizing that the way they work could be improved. And so now I'm a part of a team that's actually doing that. We're starting within IT first, obviously. That's where Agile tends to enter an organization through its IT organization. But the vision is that we will then go beyond and actually help to bring Agile across other areas within the MBA. So I'm really excited. It's a journey. So, things don't look as sort of peachy keen as they are, as we may want them to be, but we realize that that's really that's the good stuff that you want to adapt and adjust using Agile.
Thank you very much for sharing. I really sincerely appreciate that. Nothing good ever comes easy.
Yeah.
Nothing good. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires your work, hard work, and continue to revalidate yourself from the work that you do. Right. And I think that is very key and very insightful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. I'd like to know, what has been your greatest highlight? And for those that are joining us, either Twitter, YouTube, please, can you tell us where you're joining us from and let us know who you are? I'll display, I love the fact that StreamYard has a feature to display people's comments. I think is nice. So let us know where you're calling from. So can you tell us, what has been your greatest low moment? Oof. As a woman and an Agilist? I'm Black as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of goes into that imposter syndrome that you mentioned, right? I mean, even this year, right, there's been some highs and lows. And as I was coming off of a contract opportunity in March, just as the pandemic was being announced, that was ending, and there was nothing on the plate for the next step, because, you know, literally the pandemic was starting. I was still networking, trying to identify opportunities. And there was a lot of question as like, oh, wow, okay, so what do I do now? And I'm essentially home, right? No one's going out to interview or network in physical, you know, face to face. So how do I shift and figure this out? So April this year was really an interesting time for me. I won't call it a low, but it was really, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I had to really hunker down and just say, okay, let me just do what I know to do, which is network and talk to people and explore, and primarily just be open to what is potentially out there. And actually, I started to do some consulting work with a group called Agile Sherpas. And this is where, this is a group of Agilists who are really passionate about helping marketers learn Agile practices and gain that mindset so that they can use Agile in their work. And so I started teaching, and it was funny because I essentially returned to teaching. I had some previous stints with teaching before, so that wasn't a new area for me, but it was really connecting the dots with marketing and Agile. And I totally embraced it for several months. And lo and behold, in the midst of that happening, the NBA came knocking and said, hey, you know, we have an opening and we want to talk to you. So that opened. And so I think it speaks to, you never know when a door is going to open. So from that perspective, you be ready and really just welcome and have the conversations. I literally speak to anyone that reaches out to me because I want to understand how I can help them or vice versa. And so it was through this continual networking that opportunities opened up. So, but and mind you, when the MBA called, I said, wow, okay, this is specifically within IT. And then I asked myself, can I do this? Can I really do this? And then I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'll figure it out. So that's, once I accepted that, then I was able to proceed.
There's something key that you actually said that was quite powerful there. It's something very powerful that speaks to the core of what LEARNTOR does, is the fact that you weren't just sitting around and loafing. You went to volunteer with a group of people. Mm-hmm. And you didn't just say, oh, I've been qualified, I'm good at what I do, so let the job come running, without volunteering. Just because you were busy doing something, MBA door open for you. I mean, yes. That is remarkable. And that's what I'm doing currently with Agile 20 Reflect as well. Yeah. Volunteering my time. It's crazy, the amount of workload that I have. Mm-hmm. So I know this was supposed to be a short session. We have a few people online. Thank you, Idris Olakunleyin. Olayinka. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any question to ask Lisa, please drop it in the comment. It will be flashed on the screen as well, where she can respond to your comment, to your question, because the goal for us about Let's Talk Agile is to let you know that the entry into this sector is not that complicated. It's not that hard. If you are hungry enough to learn, if you're hungry enough to make a difference and want to transition into the space, it's not that complicated to learn. It's a great opportunity. And for me, I've met Lisa on LinkedIn. Yeah. That is the power of digital technology. That's where the world is going. That's where the world is not going. That's where the world is right now.
Exactly.
Connection, remote working opportunity. And this is very key that I need everyone to take note of. Thank you so much, Lisa. What else would I want to ask you? Have you ever been to Africa?
Oh, I have indeed.
Whoa, where? Yeah.
So I'd say early on, my first taste was Northern Africa. I did go to Morocco. So, just a little different. But I also more recently went to South Africa and had an amazing experience. I was with a group of people from New Jersey, and we were in Johannesburg. We went to Cape Town. We went down to the very tip, and I did everything that I could possibly do. I ate everything that I could possibly eat. I immersed myself into the music, which I love. And so, yes, and I can't wait till I go back. I enjoyed it. I think my next trip will have to be to the Western coast, so like Ghana. Just want to get a taste of that. And I do know people that are in Tanzania, so I have an open invitation to go there as well. So, oh, you're on mute.
I'm very pained that Nigeria didn't come to your list.
Oh no.
There's an open invitation right here, Lisa.
All right. I welcome it. I accept it. I will be.
Okay. So, there's this popular thing that is going on in the US now, Ancestry.com. Have you done yours?
I have.
And what is it? What's the result?
Well, I think the last I saw, because it changes quite often, I'm about like 18%. You ready for this?
Yes.
Nigerian.
And you've not been to Nigeria. Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
They didn't narrow it down to a specific location in Nigeria.
Well, every time I go in, it gets tighter. So rest assured, we'll be in touch. I'll share with you as
I'd like to know. That would be a different conversation,
Yeah.
Ancestry, connection, conversation. Let's talk ancestry, because that is so key.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, I know a lot of people want to know where their root is, how to connect back to their roots, and all of this 9 yards.
Yeah.
I want to give opportunity to, if you're online on Twitter, Facebook, whatever medium you're streaming from, I'd like you to tell us in your own words, what would you like to hear Lisa tell you? What is your confusion? What are you not clear? Anyway, I'd like you to speak to the fact that to new people that are not even aware of Agile, what Agile is totally, I'd like you to speak to that. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so the origins of Agile really, they go back to almost like the 1940s. I would say the lean, right? The foundations of lean go back to the 1940s when Toyota started to make cars in Japan, right? And so there was a lot of the philosophies around how they worked that actually started to kind of sort of plant the roots of lean. And this notion of Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. And so that's really, sort of the very early sort of exposure of Agile, but it started to evolve primarily as people in app development were challenged because they were using this waterfall approach to building their applications, and customers, like I guess I would consider myself a customer, my early, before Agile. And I would go to my developers and say, hey, I need this type of app. And as they're working, they're gathering all of their requirements from me. I may come back and say, hey, I need something I need to change something, or I need to change this, or I need to change that. And what that meant in a waterfall perspective was that they had to stop and capture all of my new requirements and then restart again, right? And it just forced this app development perspective to continually be challenged, because they're continually getting changes and new inputs and new perspectives while they're trying to create the app itself. And so it almost by need or by default, Agile had to evolve, right? Had to start to be created, because the app team they weren't being productive, they weren't being effective with the continual changes. And so I think that's why it's appropriate for the term Agile, is that, we've got to understand that we're doing our work, but yet there's going to be continual buts or inputs coming in that are driving change, that are adding new perspectives. And if we don't acknowledge that, we're going to create work that is not even relevant for our customers if we're not respecting that. So we have to be agile. We have to understand. And I think that's why the framework works so well, is that you're continually going to your customer and saying, hey, customer, I have this MVP. What do you think about this? Does it work for you? Okay, if it doesn't, all right, let's go back to the team and work it and change it. And then maybe a week or two later, we go back and say, okay, now, customer, how about this? That's agile. And also being open to the fact that that change may not, the team may not have had that perspective about the change, but it's the customer that's driving that input that we need to respect and honor. So it's to me, it's a lot of fun.
It is, honestly. I mean, just adopting the agile approach to LEARNTOR, it's been extraordinary.
Yeah.
The result has been outstanding. I cannot wait to celebrate. I've been posting all the interviews of all the participants so far that have been in the training.
Nice.
And I like look at Idris Olakunleyin claims you that he should be Lagos, Nigeria. No, he has to be somewhere from the east. He has to be, no, she's my sister. It has to be from Akwa Ibom that I'm from, or married to Edo, either of those two, not Lagos. Anyway, he asked a very vital question, and I think I'll answer this, but I'd like you to give it a go first. How do I go about getting volunteering opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you, I'm affiliated with a group out of Newark, New Jersey called IFL, and it's Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. And I met the owner or the founder of that organization and just listened to some of the challenges and the things that she was doing with her program. And she has this concept called success circles, where she identifies small business owners who are really trying to expand and grow their business. And through listening, so key word, through listening, I understood what were some of her needs. And my project manager hat immediately went on, and I just said, okay, I love what you're doing. How about, and I started to lace in some aspects of Agile into her program. So I submitted a proposal to her. We sat down and I talked with her and her one staff member, and we noodled it back and forth a little bit. And through that, we were able to integrate the iterative nature of Agile into her program, so that, she solicits volunteers to work with small businesses. And so I essentially said, we're effectively creating Agile teams for each of these businesses. So let's work in this way so that we can actually help these businesses focus on key work. So a sprint, if you will, a couple of weeks, and then allow that team to then rotate to other teams so that they can each, help. So 1 week, one sprint, it may be marketing focus, another sprint, it may be operational. And through this, we actually evolved her Success Circle program. So that's a complete volunteer work that I do. And again, they weren't thinking Agile. So that's the key. The point that I'm trying to make is that people, they don't know Agile, right? So they're not going to speak that language. But we as project managers, we as Agilists can actually see opportunity, because that's the lens that we look through. And so we actually start to communicate to them. And we may or may not use Agile terms, right? So, we understand language can sometimes be a barrier. So sometimes we have to use non-Agile terms. We understand it, but we're trying to relay the benefit, most importantly, to help people understand that working in this different way is actually going to help them. And so I'm very happy that she was open to this adjustment. She loved the concept, and everyone started to embrace it. And they've been using it now for about 1.5 years, which is great.
Okay, so which means I've seen a potential. I'm wearing my Agile hat as well as a project manager, and a problem solving art, because
Yes.
one of the reasons I wanted to respond to what his question was the fact that LEARNTOR, the goal is to train people in the Agile space to get the adoption of the Agile mindset and all of that. So I see a potential partnership with our business, because once I finish training, they need an outlet to go and volunteer.
Yes.
So because right now we offer training, is a 3 month course and hands-on practical learning. So if I can get into conversation with her, which is not, if you don't mind connecting, when I finish training, I can send people that are willing to volunteer, that are Agilists, they've gone through the cycle, they understand what a sprint is, they understand what the Kanban structure is, and they can help out in the job. So I see opportunity. And by the way, to answer your question, Idris, is the fact that LEARNTOR offers hands-on learning, an opportunity for you to become an intern to work. I can tell you now that one of the students of LEARNTOR that took up participation in the 3 months is a trustee with Agile 20 Reflect, and they're all volunteering. They're all giving their time. That's the only way, because in volunteering, you're learning.
Yes.
You're learning real life project, real life scenario. They become your case studies when you have to apply for the job. So I think this is brilliant. I hope you don't mind connecting and introducing me to this lady, right?
Yes, yes, I can definitely do that.
Yeah, that would be a good conversation for me to have. If you have any question for Lisa, we've actually overshot by 2 minutes. It was time boxed for 30 minutes. I know she's very busy. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take a question. But if you don't, I like to do this in my Agile way of working. What has been your takeaway? What do you think we could improve on? What do you think, what did you take away from this session, and what can we improve on? I really am big on feedback, so that way I know what to improve. It's not just about bringing people to talk. I'd like to know, was this impactful? If it was impactful, type yes. I'd like to hear from you. If it was, and what did you learn from this conversation? And what can we improve on? If you can, I'll be grateful if you can chat. I'm waiting for your dropping of your comment in the chat. Thank you so much. So Lisa, I'd like you to speak to the fact that there are many Black women in the space. How do we change that?
I think conversations like this help, certainly. And I'm also a member of WIA, so Women in Agile. I think we've crossed paths in WIA events. So continuing to network, but also really identifying other organizations outside of the Agile world, and essentially sharing what we do so that people begin to get curious about it and ask for more information.
Oh, there's a beautiful question. Please, I'd like your feedback. What did you take away from this conversation, and what is your feedback? I'll be rounding up the session maybe in another 2 minutes. So Rosemary, she's one of LEARNTOR's participants, by the way. I noticed people are focused on the ceremony rather than the 3 pillars of Scrum, she wants to say. What is your take on this? And this is very key as well.
Yeah.
The empiricism of Scrum.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the doing Agile versus being Agile.
Exactly.
Right? That's exactly it. So I think it's important to really, while people want to focus on the ceremonies, you as the Scrum Master or the coach, you're the one that keeps the conversation, like in addition to the ceremonies, right? So you still want to do the ceremonies, but you have to keep reinforcing why is it important, and what's that mindset that's around the work, the doing, so that people get both, essentially, right? You want people to do Agile, but you also want them to be Agile. And so that's where the Scrum Master helps to keep that mix and that balance.
I hope that responds to Rosemary's question. On this note, I want to say sincerely thank you for joining. I know conversation like this, even if it's like we've had, I think the maximum we had was about 8, and people have been coming and dropping off. Hopefully one person gets transformed and converted to the Agile way of working. It would be a win for LEARNTOR, because the goal is we need to keep the conversation going. We need to keep talking about what we're doing. We need to make push the impact and the narrative, which is not popular by many And we can do all of that and change Africa, change the world, because Agile way is the only way to go and the changes that we can make. But I'd like you to just do the outro. Your thoughts. I mean, what's your feedback about the interview? What can I improve on? It's still
so certainly I love this, and thank you again for this opportunity. I am I definitely love being able that we're talking across the ocean here, and so it's amazing, what technology can do, and I feel like now I'm in this space. I'm just excited about all the future opportunities and future work that's going to come my way. So looking forward to continuing our partnership and discussion. So
yes, I can't wait. Are you open to mentoring?
I am, yes.
Awesome, because we're trying to factor that into our businesses. At least pair you up with a mentor, even if it's once a month or twice a month, for you to meet and just have bounce ideas. I'm working on that structure. It's very important for us so that they can get to talk to more agilists. And okay, that's what she took away. Franca said, be agile and don't do agile. Don't do agile, just be agile. The agile mindset is a powerful force. It changes the game, both for businesses, for your individual life. It's not about software development. For your family, it changes the game. I want to say thank you on a final note, Lisa. I really appreciate your time and time for sharing. Please don't go. Let me end the broadcast. Then we have our own retro personal.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you and bye-bye, everyone.